Okay, we're going to call to order the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission meeting for February 10th, 2025. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Here.
Ms. Strain,
Here.
Mr. Khan,
Here.
Ms. Belowski,
Here.
Ms. Gomes,
Here.
Ms. Gold,
Present.
Mr. Millspa. Here. Mr. Bill and Calhoun,
Here.
Chairman Darpino.
Here. Next up is the approval of the January 27th, 2025 minutes. Could I get a motion?
Moved.
So moved by Mr. Khan,
Second.
second by Ms. Gold. Any comments or corrections? I had none. Okay. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes from January 27th, 2025 are approved. Next up are public hearings. We do not have any scheduled public hearings, so we'll move directly to privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is open to any resident that would like to speak about any planning or zoning matter at the town of Niskayuna. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Okay, it looks like no one's present to speak at privilege of the floor. Laura, do we have any correspondence or anyone that's online that wishing to speak?
Nope, not today.
Okay. All right. Seeing as there's no one here for privilege of the floor, we will close privilege of the floor. There is no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. First up is Resolution 2025-03, a resolution for site plan approval for a new lighting for the Bank of America ATM at 480 Balltown Road. I am the project lead and will read the resolution. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission finds the above referenced site plan meets the requirements of the zoning code and previous site plan approvals, and therefore hereby approves this site plan with the following conditions. Number one, the lighting color temperature shall be 4000 K LED neutral cool. Number two, as a condition of the building permit, a landscaping improvement plan shall be reviewed and approved by the Niskayuna Tree Council, and the approved landscaping plan shall be installed prior to building permit closeout. I'll make a motion. Make it a second.
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Khan. Do we have a representative from the applicant online? Okay, all right. All right, looks like it's pretty straightforward. I think they made, the package was what we had talked about with the lighting. We did discuss the information regarding the landscaping. Did the planning department receive any information regarding any of the previous landscaping that was on Balltown Road? Nothing?
not yet.
Okay, all right. So I think this condition number 2 is fine with me to turn it over to the planning department and the tree council to help figure out whatever the best scenarios for the plantings are. That can be relayed to the applicant after the vote is complete. Right. Any other discussion items? Okay. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Ms. Strain,
Aye.
Mr. Khan,
Aye.
Ms. Belowski,
Aye.
Ms. Gomes,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
I recused.
Chairman Darpino.
Aye. Motion is passed. Okay. Next up is a resolution 2025-04, resolution to make a recommendation to the town board regarding a request to apply for a planned unit development at 2757 Aqueduct Road. Project leads are Ms. Strang and Mr. Laflamme. Could I get a motion?
I move to approve with the recommendation of the town board.
Okay, moved by Mr. Laflamme, and a second.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Ms. Belowski. We have a representative here, okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through and read all of the items in the resolution, and then we'll go to the discussion before the vote. There's a few. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission does render a favorable recommendation to the Town Board for approval to Niskayuna Harbor LLC to make a formal application for a planned unit development district at parcels 31.0-1-22.21 and 31.0-1-12 with the following comments. 1. Minimum project area. This project is below the minimum project area for a PUD, 50 contiguous acres, but the planning board does recommend that the town board consider it because it's the unique location and characteristics of the site meet the purpose and objectives for designation of a PUD. The zoning code states that the project of lesser acreage may be considered where the applicant can demonstrate that the characteristics of the project meet the purpose and objectives of the code. The planning board made the following findings on this. Project scale. The board discussed the scale and number of units may need to be reduced due to wetland constraints and topography, but felt that they could work on this with the applicant during the PUD application review. Proposed use configuration. The board felt the current configuration may be too dense and wanted to explore ways to further incorporate vistas and use of the pond and Mohawk River, but felt it could work on this with the applicant during a PUD application review. Compatibility with the comprehensive land use plan. Goals and objectives. The board discussed the proposed green space, potential access to the Mohawk River, potential trail connections, and diversity of housing was compatible with the comprehensive plan goals and objectives. Compatibility in relationship to the adjacent land uses. The board discussed the compatibility with the adjacent river's ledge and noted ownership of the condominiums was a benefit and discussed the objectives for affordable working-class housing in Niskayuna. The board discussed that the protections for the existing single-family homes and vistas of this project from across the Mohawk River would be important considerations, but felt they could work with this applicant during the PUD application review. Public facilities and utilities impact. The board noted that the existing water and sewer infrastructure was there, and the proposed was for the PUD infrastructure to be privately maintained, but that the developer would be responsible for public parkland improvements in kind with Rivers Ledge development, which is adjacent to this parcel. Number 2, project ownership. The planning board noted the PUD will be privately owned. All roads and utilities will be maintained by the owner and thus provide no burden on the town of Niskayuna for maintenance. A homeowners association is proposed to be established for the ownership maintenance responsibilities in accordance with the criteria of the New York State Attorney General. Number 3, location of planned unit development districts. The planning board noted that this PUD is proposed in an R2 district and should be able to meet the purpose and objectives of Article 7 of the zoning code with particular respect to the comprehensive land use plan objectives as described above. A PUD would meet a specific implementation task outlined in objective number 8, page 116 of the land use section of the 2013 Town of Niskayuna Comprehensive Plan. Reevaluating the IG zoning along the Mohawk River to make it more consistent with the Mohawk River Waterfront Revitalization Plan and the residential character of Niskayuna. Number 4, a maximum choice in housing units. The planning board finds the proposed residences would be a variety of 4, 6, and 10 unit condominium buildings. Proportionally, the town has very few condominiums, so potentially creating affordable owner-occupied units with access to the Mohawk Hudson Bike Hike Trail and possible transit would increase housing choices and mobility options in Niskayuna. Number 5, land use intensity. The zoning code allows the overall project density to be increased by an amount not to exceed 30% of that which is normally permitted by right in such a district. The planning board will work with the developer should a PUD application be allowed to find the right balance of land use intensity on this parcel. Number 6, open space. The planning board noted that if 46% of the total area will not be developed due to wetlands, floodplains, and set-asides for open space, creating intact areas of habitat, protecting environmentally sensitive ecosystems like wetlands and ponds, and creating access to this green space for public enjoyment is a goal for the planning board and 2013 comprehensive plan. Number 7, wetlands. The planning board noted that there are over 7 acres of wetlands on site. The applicant would need to follow the January 1st, 2025 revision of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation freshwater wetlands laws. This revision is significantly different from the prior version and may significantly impact the buildable area of the proposed PUD and number of units that may be included. Number 8, the planning board finds that the vehicle and multi-use path traffic patterns in the area necessitate a comprehensive traffic study to ensure an adequate level of service can be provided to residents of the proposed development, and there are no negative impacts to the existing users on the bike path and Aqueduct Road. Number 9, the proximity of the Mohawk Hudson Bike Hike Trail, Aqueduct Park, the Mohawk River, and the Old Erie Canal to this development is important. All 3 elements should be considered in the formation of the PUD. Public improvements and or increased access to the Mohawk River would be beneficial to all residents of Niskayuna. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to the project leads for any open discussion.
No, do we want to do an overview, or did you suggest the idea of having Mr. Profundi come up and do an overview, or?
Either way works.
Yeah.
If the applicant would like to give a quick overview, they can.
Good evening, Brett Steenberg, Steenberg Consulting Engineering, and with me is Chuck Profundi, working with the applicant as well. As you can see, this is the plan that we currently have proposed. It's for 200 plus or minus residential units, condominium for sale units that will be reside on private roads, private utilities, to minimize the burden with the town, as many of the findings of the resolution stated. You know, we're trying to come up with a plan that provides affordable housing, something that the residents that may either want to reside in the town, older people who want to retire in the town, or new people coming into the town of Niskayuna would like a place that they can call their own, but don't really want to either A, live in an apartment, or B, spend the money right now that it is for a single family, especially new construction single family home, in some place that's maintenance free. We find that these condominium units a lot of times are occupied by those 2 demographics. It's depending on the location. Sometimes it's split 50-50. Sometimes you get more one or the other demographic. But on all the projects I've worked on, those have been the 2 demographics that have resided in the condominiums, which provides another positive aspect. Neither one of those demographics provide a real strain on the school districts, because they typically don't have a lot of school district children within them. I think the ones, there's 100 units over in Rotterdam, and I think there's 5 school district children between the 100 units. So it doesn't draw a huge draw in the school district, but it provides a nice tax base for the school district, as well as the town, which will help help offset some of those September tax bills that are never fun. But this we feel that this is a great project for the town. We've been working on it for a number of years. Obviously, we've got a lot of work to do with this board, and we look forward to working with you. But we're here hoping that maybe you can pass this along to the town board so that we can get back here, get to work, and come up with a plan that we're all happy with. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Steenberg. It was just an overview. It was perfect. Out of curiosity, the wetlands concern, has there been any changes to the understanding of the constraints of wetlands that might be something that we have to be prepared for? Anything new?
No, so, based on our overview right now, and we're continuing those conversations and moving towards further communication with DEC, we don't believe we meet any of the 11 criteria that were pushed out in the 2025 reg. But, cool. we got to work through that stuff with the regulatory agencies, and but from a standpoint of where we believe we stand today, we're in good shape.
Excellent. Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Strang, you're online. Did you want to add anything or comment?
No, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm looking forward to this coming back. I think this is a nice project.
Okay, great. So I guess just to summarize, we've had a couple committees look at it, comprehensive. The CAC's looked at this. I think they're the only other committee that's really taken a look at this, correct, Laura?
Complete.
Complete Streets did as well.
Yeah.
That's correct. Okay, good. So I think we're in a pretty good place. And any other questions for us?
I think we're
Really
good.
appreciate all your
Appreciate it.
time today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Big project and a fun one, I'm sure.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Brigami, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Laflamme?
Aye.
Ms. Strain?
Aye.
Mr. Khan?
Aye.
Ms. Bilowski?
Aye.
Ms. Gomes?
Aye.
Ms. Gold?
Aye.
Chairman Darpino?
Aye. Motion is passed and recommendation will go to the town board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on to discussion items. First up is 412 Balltown Road, Suite D, a site plan application for tenant change to Dave's Hot Chicken. And we have a representative from the applicant here. Okay, Mr. Khan is the project lead on this. And
Hey,
go ahead and.
all
Mr.
right,
Recap.
Ms. Clark. So we had a conversation about a few items, and I guess we could take them in order. I think you're going to go back to the owners. Very good in the drawings that were submitted. All the signs are size compliant, so we view that as very positive. So I think we're set there. The elimination of the red LED at the roof line, that was a positive, so we're good there. So I think there's really three things that are left. I feel based on our conversation, I can make a recommendation to the board and folks can discuss. And then I think for two of them at least, and then one is a little more open. So the two I'd like, the three items are the mural, the awning color, and then the lights are actually it's got a backlight, the red panel, and there's also a white LED inside each letter.
Yes.
So
correct.
we'll talk a little bit about that last one, maybe more as an open discussion item. So as far as the mural, I'm okay proposing to the board that that could be something that's acceptable. The analogy I draw there is we've allowed many businesses in the plaza to have some form of facade painting. And this could be looked at as just another variation of facade painting. The red awning. I believe that to be consistent with the buildings in that block, keeping it the color with the rest of them is most appropriate. But we're here for the rest of the board to weigh in also if they see differently or not. I believe it'll just be a little bit too much of a jarring contrast where the awnings are concerned. So there will be a big lack of uniformity where that's concerned. We can pause there and bring up the lighting one after. Were you able to get any input on the awning from?
Yes, we did inquire with corporate to see if we were able to change the color. Unfortunately, that is not an option. So they do have to stay the Pantone red, like proposed in the drawings, if we do move forward with the awnings. So per Dave's corporate branding, there's no other color we're allowed to use. So we're kind of stuck with the red awning. Not great news, I know. They did give up the LED tubing, which is great. And I was able to get some drawings of what they proposed first of all of the graphics, which they then peeled back because we said, you know, there's probably no way this is going to happen. I don't know if you guys want to see them or not, but I have a couple printouts if you'd like to take a look.
So typically we have to look at what's in the package.
Yep.
So
totally fine.
That's what we're going to stick with. I do
Sure.
have a question on one of the graphics. Laura, if you could go to the side elevation, which is that one there. Can you zoom in on that? And specifically what I'm trying to figure out is what is in the bottom right corner that's got that burst with maybe like lightning behind it, or is that part of the package that's being proposed?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Unfortunately, as a sign company, we couldn't edit the art because we don't design that. We were able to like Photoshop off the LEDs, which they were okay with.
Okay.
The art I couldn't change, but there will be no window graphics at all.
Okay. So we'll call it the facade rendering would just be to the corners and upper areas.
Correct.
On all. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have no plans of window graphics currently.
Yeah, my comment did not, I mean, it was accounting for the fact that lower
wasn't
right
there.
graphic
Okay.
wasn't there. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, I mean, the board needs to weigh in on the awnings. I think if folks have driven by there, it's going to really stand out.
Is it out of curiosity? I didn't drive by. I was sick this past couple of weeks, but I've meant to. I recall the Target awning. Wasn't there a Target color
So Lowe's has red awnings, but the key thing is that, look, if all the rest of the awnings on this block were red, then
Right.
we won't be having a discussion.
Sure.
It's just that they're not, and
Did Lowe's change the color of the awning when they did their color package change and they went with the maroon and the red?
yeah, I
and
mean,
white?
yeah, so they have a reddish color. I mean, it's not
Reddish.
exactly red. It's not
Yeah.
like this.
But it was different than what they originally had. And then
Yeah, but Lowe's
Market-
is a standalone
Mhm.
building.
Yeah.
across the
and,
street, right?
Like Lowe's actually just got built that way.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no tenant in the Lowe's building. It's a standalone structure in the business. It doesn't actually match the facade of these types of buildings that are up in the front.
So, I mean, let's take them one at a time because I don't view this as a negotiation. So let's take it one at a time. Concerning the mural, and I mean, I think I informed you that if you did bring drawings, we won't be able to officially act. I don't think we're acting officially on this meeting today anyway. The best we could do is actually maybe propose for a resolution in the next meeting, and I think I communicated that.
Sure.
So, Chairman, if you're okay with it, Ms. Clark can pass out at least the pictures of what because it is a lower footprint than what's currently on there for the mural,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be acceptable.
Yeah,
Okay.
just for us to get a preview, but we won't be able to act on that. Whatever
That's fine.
resolution we put will be in the context of,
Sure.
Yep.
Can I pass them out now?
Just hand it to Ms. Robertson.
Okay.
And just to be clear, no other tenant has that kind of graphic on their building. Is that right?
No one else has that kind of graphic, correct?
It's all
But
limited to
others,
signage.
right, but others have painted facades. Solidly
Sorry.
painted facades, like
I was
Target.
just trying to
like
give
that.
you a sense of the other
Okay.
buildings around. That's one packet.
Oh, that's one back.
The last page that's loose is a sign up close, which we can talk about after. Is my attempt at showing you the illumination, which isn't great, but
Oh, so the entire building is getting painted.
so what I wanted to show you was the initial package that Dave's came in and
Mhm.
wanted us to move forward with. And we tried very hard to convince them to scale back, which is what we have up in the application. So this was kind of what they really wanted us to do, and we did our best to have them scale back. So
So what we're looking at in the application represents, the mural at least represents what the extent will be, right?
yes,
And it's not white, it's tan, natural, like a neutral. It's a
yep, the
this looks
building.
white.
Same building color.
Mhm.
Yep, it currently looks like that. So it is a tan background.
Got it.
So instead of painting the whole entire thing white, we were going to leave a good amount of the tan there.
And there's no lighting, no illumination at all.
Nope.
Including color on that top.
Correct.
cornice, yeah.
Correct. Yep, we eliminated the LED tubing along the top on all sides. That's Western Avenue. I know we had submitted that last time for their graphics.
And they don't have an awning at all, or do they?
They don't. That was probably about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. We are going back to Gilderland to add tubing and awnings because that's a part of their corporate branding package. So we will be going back here fairly shortly to add new awnings and the LED tubing.
I would just comment on Mr. Khan's observation of the graphics. I kind of feel that there is art in other colors and it's not a sign. And I'm actually okay with the graphics as I see them in the package as well. I want to second that.
And I don't agree with that. I'm not okay with it. It's exactly the sort of thing we were trying to avoid entirely. It's attention grabbing, yeah, but I don't think it's I don't think it's a beneficial addition.
What is it supposed to depict? Do you know?
So doing a few previous Daves, they have a certain graphics team that comes out, and it's the outsides. I can't really tell you. An expression of art, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay.
The inside is really neat, though. If you've never been inside a Dave's Hot Chicken, each location is very specific to the area. So we would think this one might have some like GE ties, you know, kind of maybe some Mohawk River or something like that. But the art really does depict the town. There's one in Amsterdam, and then the one in Albany. They have like the egg in New Albany, and it's pretty cool. And it's a team that flies out of California to every single location to paint all of them. So it's pretty neat. It's different though.
And so it's painted on, forgive me if this was discussed, right? And so then removal would just be painted over if this were to change tenants? It's not like a blasting or any kind of
Nope,
thing
it's
that would
just
be
paint.
required? It's just paint.
I don't see it quite as art. I see it as distracting and more like a grade school kid. Work. So you're not going to win me on artistic merit, and it really is contrary to what we envisioned. So I will not support that.
I don't have a problem with the graphics. I have more of a problem with that awning. I really like
Yeah.
the Western Avenue location a lot better.
I do too.
And oddly enough, I'm fine with the awning because I hear positive comments about awnings, and the red color kind of fits.
What do you think it fits with, Leslie?
The red color on the awning, I think it fits.
With the rest of the plaza?
I think it looks okay. I mean, bright orange would look terrible next to the reddish brick next to it and all, but it goes with the proposed sign and all of that. And we've got some other red in the mall, plaza area, whatever we're calling it these days.
Yeah, awning wise, it's only Lowe's, and the only other red that exists on signs, and the dark maroonish brownish red that's on the facade of Target. I mean Target and the coat store, Burlington. They have more pronounced red.
But it's
not
within
an
their
awning.
logo.
It's not an awning. It's a paint. It's paint on the wall. It's
Yeah.
facade paint. Hence the mural.
I think probably any other color is going to look worse.
Including the
Other than
colors
maybe
there.
a white or a tan.
How about the colors there?
Green?
That green, that's standard too.
It's a
That
great-
block, the block across the street. When I say across the street, across the parkway, the parking lot,
And the green under a red sign is going to look a little
like Christmas.
Christmas year round, and it doesn't really go.
Did you have any renderings that showed just the compliant sign package without the rope lighting and the mural that kept the awnings a grayish green color?
No,
No? Okay.
no. Unfortunately, we can't edit the awnings either. I could try to Photoshop them off, but I'm not a graphic designer. I don't know if that would eliminate like the current awnings that are there.
Mhm.
Because the images we have were sent over from Dave's, so then we can only play with them as best
Oh,
we
I see.
can.
All right.
Quick clarification, the rendering that we have, that we discussed, the picture of, has a mural that's kind of continuous, whereas the Western Ave has a blotch here and a blotch. Is the blotch option an option for Niskuna, or is that your recommendation or your request is just for that right there, the one contiguous, like a constant banner of art?
I would love to get this. If we were to give up something else to maybe keep the red awnings, I would certainly go back to Dave's and see what they could do. They just weren't able to provide me with a more scaled down version within the time frame. I can certainly ask. I would love to get this, but I do understand that we are asking for a lot. So this is what Dave's is hoping for, I guess.
I do think allowing that mural would be a precedent we probably don't want to set.
Right, that's my concern too, is it really speaks to what the tenant has access to going forward, right? Or do they have a facade where a sign can be in compliance that also matches their branding? Or does that branding extend to changing? Because you have to think about other awnings potentially changing, right? Does the branding package for these buildings extend to the awning and also actually decorating the physical building? Because I think, right, this is the first time we're contemplating that.
Well, we often get color recommendations of that exterior. We just
Mhm.
haven't had one as artistic
Yep.
and creative. I'm less favoring, I agree with Leslie, this particular color banner seems like this is too much, but the one that's on Western Avenue seems toned down. It's themed with what I would expect. Oh, there's a Days. Or maybe I wouldn't see the sign, but I see the colors of the, I think it's associated with the brand. This looks like a departure a little bit from the two other locations that, I've seen.
Are your two other locations standalone?
No, neither of them are standalone. The Western Ave is in a plaza owned by Jenkow, I believe.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a Jersey Mike's right next
Yeah.
to it, and I believe now a Smoothie King. And then the Amsterdam one is a Benderson Plaza. And there's Marshall's. There's also a Jersey Mike's,
Okay.
cell
Yep.
phone store, so not standalone.
Because I feel like that's part of it too, Chris. Like if it was its own piece and so it was sort of an encapsulated brand, that would be one thing. I'm more concerned about how it looks as other tenants come and go.
So,
And how it might look if somebody comes in and does something radically different right next to it.
so just as a summary of, where, okay, my thinking is at, right? So I'm looking at something that we can have a code-based, practice-based basis for, for our conclusions. Again, mural, as, loud as it looks, we've allowed others to paint their entire facade.
Okay.
And that's an action of the board, not a, it's an action of the board relative to a desire or requirement by the applicant, but that's something that we've done in the past. If I drove around that plaza and there were no painted facades, I'd have a very different conclusion.
Opinion, yep.
However, where the awnings are concerned, there's an applicant that's asking for something that is, regardless of our preferences as a board, it is inconsistent with this color scheme of other awnings on that lot. And so we as a board will have to decide if we would like to give a waiver to an applicant to be inconsistent with a set of colors and thereby set a new precedent, or whether we will hold fast to it's got to be consistent.
I'm having a little trouble with that one. Meaning, in that building, you're right. It's all one awning color. In the plaza, they're different. And sometimes they're non-existent. Like there are no awnings.
Agreed, but in contiguous buildings in the plaza,
Yes.
they're actually the same. So the argument I'm
Yes.
making there is the contiguous.
Is making an accommodation per tenant.
Yeah,
Within
it's
a
a tenant occupation.
But I still like the fact that
And,
We have
and again,
variety.
right, look, again, why I said what I just said, I'm coming from position as a board, right? Based
Mhm.
on introducing a new precedent or basically on a past precedent, right?
Yeah.
If we allow the red awnings on this tenant, then we're opening to allow other tenants to have any color awning that suits their branding and any small segment of any building.
yeah.
I'd rather see that than the mural
So the
or a bunch of murals.
so the observations I had was I'm okay with the murals and the wall art. I think that's fine. If you look at each of the facades, obviously this facade here, the front one facing Balltown Road, is going to be highly visible. And there's, a homogeneous look to that. Basically, it's the signage that makes the difference on that facade. So as you get to the side, you've got these 3 bays here, and interestingly, you have the murals on the 2 lower bays, but the central bay is just the sign. So your rendering shows just the red sign of Dave's Hot Chicken. If you go to the one with the 3,
It's the first page.
Right.
One more to there.
perfect. Yep.
That's the side, right?
So that's the side.
southern-
That's the side. So
I see.
So if just the center one was red, because you've done the art above, it's almost this, it's the pattern is alternating as you go around the building. And then when you get to the back of the building, you have a red awning with some, art on the backside. There's a sign, and it's hardly visible at all unless you're driving around the backside of the building or coming from Lowe's. So I would say if the awnings are that important, maybe just the center bay on the side, which is directly under it, that doesn't have any mural art above it, could balance that a little bit. But again, I think that just the typology of this building and the consistency of what's there, all of that stuff is reversible. But when the red awnings go up, that may be in something that the next tenant inherits. And this starts to push the limit of where does color end and then building start to change. Another tenant may come in the future and say, okay, I want to put a gable roof on the end of this because that's what my marketing looks like. And then if that tenant leaves and another one comes in, they inherit the gable roof, even though these are homogenized buildings, that's the space that's there for lease. So that's what we've built into this section of the town that we're working with.
And thank you, Chairman Maj, for pointing out that last piece, right? And, Ms. Bolavsky mentioned before, paint is paint, right? We can always paint it.
Is that the center entrance? Is the center
No.
of that building the
No.
entrance?
No,
The entrance
not
will
at
be
all.
the entrance will be on
Balltown Road
Balltown Road side.
Yeah.
This is sort of that no man's land dead zone that doesn't,
Yeah.
a sea of parking doesn't really get filled up that much. Laura, I believe you shared the previous plan of the one tenant that had that little bump out where the parking space was going to
Be good.
be good, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna put outside seating
Yeah, that's,
right there.
yeah,
Correct.
that's another topic we didn't get to yet. Remember, we still need to,
Right.
we need to get past this, the
Mhm.
mural and awning one. We also, look, we can pause this and I'll bring to the forefront the other one about the lighting, right?
Sure.
So, and here, Laura, I'll look for you and Clark's help on this. So right now you're proposing actually a dual lit sign,
Correct.
which is a red backing with red LEDs that is going to provide a glow, a halo into each letter being lit with a white LED.
Correct. So around, we'll call it the rectangle, the red rectangle, it provides like a nice halo glow around it. The actual panel doesn't light up. It just casts a
Right.
red glow. And then the letters are dual lit. So the
Yeah.
letters are normal channel letters that
So,
are front lit.
our, in discussing with the planning department, our preference would have been a cleaner color, but fine, that's a preference statement we made. I have a little bit of difficulty with the code here, Laura, because I don't think we have this dual lit anywhere else. I think it's either one or the other, right?
Yeah, I've never seen both. When we were looking at the drawings, I thought it was backlit only.
And so our code here, this one's for you, Rob, right? It's not clear to me whether it's an and or an or condition in the code. So I could see this one within the letter of the code law potentially actually slipping through. Right? Because we don't specifically exclude a dual lit and we don't actually say it's either internally lit or backlit or externally lit. Right? So again, it's going to be a really bright sign. And
It's really not terrible.
And brightly contrasted.
It's not terrible, I promise. I tried to get a picture. These are from my install guys. Usually we work during the day. There is a picture I provided, which I know we can't submit technically of, it's not a great picture. So my install guys took it of an actual sign being installed. It's overcast, but it is on. Obviously it's not pitch black, dark out at night. They're not terribly bright signs now that we're making them. moving forward. So dual lit usually doesn't mean twice the amount of light. They're LEDs, they're housed inside of the letters, so they're pretty dull. It's going to read like all the other channel letters in the plaza, but then it's going to have that red illumination, the halo glow around the outside.
Yeah.
That is something that I cannot change. That is strictly Dave's branding. There's nothing we can really do about that, unfortunately. It's kind of like Lowe's and stuff like that. We don't come up with the build of the signs. This is what they require us to do.
Yeah, but I think we have the ability to ask for certain studies concerning that lighting, if we deem so.
Yes, and I mean, obviously the board needs to balance, there's a benefit to a tenant coming, but the tenant does not have a right to change those awnings. The code does not allow for that. You guys would have to grant a waiver for it.
Mhm.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, so the code, and Mr. Khan and I discussed this. The illumination that's allowed in the shopping center commercial district states that sign lighting should minimize glare and maintain the aesthetic character of the area. Therefore, signs may be internally lit, backlit, and externally lit. We've just never seen the two together.
Mhm.
Laura, I just wanted to throw out that we do have a bit of a precedent with the JCC sign, that we asked them to demonstrate what it would look like prior to acting on it. So maybe somehow people could see what the dual lit sign actually looks like.
Clark, you mean
Either
going
by
to,
just
going to another
visiting the
location
site
where there is
remotely.
one? Is that what you mean, or?
Or maybe it's looking at the location in Albany or somewhere. But someone actually, if you remember, Laura, someone actually brought in an example of the JCC sign so that people could see it.
Yeah, they trailered it into the parking lot here.
Yeah, I do remember that.
If our code is not explicitly against that too light, I just think it fits the brand, what they're trying to do. It's the hot, it doesn't, I'd like to have the ability to have it a tentative approval to see what it looks like, with the option to reduce it to one light. But in general, that didn't strike me. It's definitely, it stands out, but I didn't see it as a distraction or as a non-fit to our area. Whereas the awning did feel like that.
The one in Western Ave is actually stacked, and I think it's going to look different. This one's very lineal,
Linear, yeah.
so it's not going to have the halo effect that you would see in the evening. It's definitely going to have less of a throw to it. So
The one on Western Ave is, like you mentioned, it is stacked. It looks very bright. Even if you
Right.
want to pull up the picture, it looks like there's a lot of illumination because it is stacked. I forgot about the Queensbury location. There is one in Queensbury. I know it's a little far away. That one's also tough too. It's very linear. It is a massive sign. I believe it's close to 32 feet long, 33 feet long, I believe.
Wow.
That's their largest sign
Yeah.
that fit. The facade is huge.
Yeah.
They did go ahead and paint the entire background, like completely muraled out. It's very dark. It has a lot of black in it. So when it is illuminated at night, it really sucks a lot of that color in. So if you went to go see it, it barely looks like it has a halo glow just because there's a lot of graphics behind it, which is what Dave wanted. So when you look at something like this, if you like eliminated the word Dave's up there, it's more going to look like the hot chicken, which isn't crazy. It's kind of just like a blurry rectangle, in my opinion. You can still read it, which is the goal. It's a sign at the end of the day. So you want to be able to read the word Dave's Hot Chicken, of course. But there's not a great comparison of the other Daves that are around here, to be honest with you. I could probably provide some examples of other signs that we have installed and we have some night renderings of. Obviously, they're not going to be Dave's, but it will be the dual lit halo glow, if you'd like me to submit those for the next meeting.
Yeah, the Queensbury is very interesting because it's actually more like what we did with Burlington, where it's a contained space.
Yeah, which is what it'll look like here. Again, concerning the sign, and I'll relegate the planning department and to the legal team here I'd love to be able to say no to it outright,
Sure.
but I don't believe I've got that basis in the code to be able to do that. All right, so that one is not a matter of a waiver. It's what does the code interpretation seem to accept? Right? We could talk about glare. We could look at whatever you would present from a perspective of glare,
Sure.
right? Aesthetic character, I think it shows up on the drawings, the renderings, right? So anyway, that's the sign story.
So, I mean, I think it's okay that you guys don't all agree, and my recommendation to you would be that the project lead will bring the resolution back as he recommends, and then you guys can vote on it or amend it, and it can pass or fail. That would be my recommendation.
Well, so I think we could reach some sort of an agreement on mural based on people's inputs to date. We probably could reach the same thing based on the code text on the sign, the lighting of the sign. But we do have, it seems to have, if this board votes to not accept the red awning, to not waiver the red awning, then that's a showstopper with the applicant, correct?
I believe so.
So I think we need to just make that determination now if we're willing to get to an impasse point and vote based on that.
Could we, this is not our role. I don't know why I want to say this, but I'm going to say it just because we are kind of trying to figure out a compromise. What if the awning stays the same color, but the graphics can bleed onto it? Like as part of the graphics. So the awning stays the same,
Technically.
but the graphics could also include a portion of the awning.
Okay, so here's what I would say to
Mhm.
council. I like the idea, actually, if there's some part of this proposal that's a no-go, then that's an economy of your time and resources, right? Like, just make a decision. I'm hesitant to go the other direction, which is make an advisory opinion about what we might say yes to, because there's always the risk of after the fact, if you don't vote yes on it, then the applicant's saying, well, you led me down this path and then it went nowhere. So I really don't want you to propose a solution. Let the applicant wants to revise their application, you can say yes or no. And that's how the process should work without making, well, we might say yes to this if this happened. I don't want to go that direction.
Yeah, I agree with Rob. Personally, I request no more changes to what we have in front of us. I think it's well defined. And, you know, and one item seems to be a showstopper, which is the awning. So
So the good thing is that we have a relatively quick turnaround to the next meeting. So there's not a long delay. If you want to take these observations back to corporate and explain to them what our discussion's been on that, let them know what our code is for the awnings, what we've kind of built into this area of town. It's pretty straightforward. So if they decide they want to come back with the current package that's here or amend it, then I think, you know, we're going to have another meeting in February. The deadline's very achievable for something very small compared on where we are. And I think we can move forward from there.
Sounds
Does
good.
that sound like a good path forward, Mr. Khan?
yes,
Okay.
thank you for the summary.
And
Thank you.
outside seating? What'd they say to the outside seating?
They definitely want to pursue it. He's trying to open his doors as soon as possible. So once we get this figured out, he's going to start to work on that. So it might not be for his grand opening, but he definitely liked that idea.
So I guess we've had this come across with other applicants where they've taken a small area outside of the building footprint to use. Is that something that would just be between the tenant and the applicant? Like, say they wanted to take a bank of parking spaces away, right up against the building, extend the sidewalks and put a fence up and have outdoor seating. That could be another application we could potentially see, right?
Yeah, you would actually have to see it once it removes the parking space.
Okay.
But I think they're overparked
Right.
there. So
Right.
if they're able to come up with the outside seating plan, it would have to be another site plan review if they were going to build it.
Okay.
That was way above my pay grade. I will definitely take that back to Jonathan.
No, that- yeah, that's-
Definitely
that's-
wants to
it's
do
just-
that, but I'm not an engineer, so I passed along everything you had sent over, Laura. He's very interested, so I'll have someone a little bit above me submit you guys.
Well,
what you need.
focus on this application as is right now.
This is good.
But this is a larger, I mean, it's a larger seating area, especially
Sure.
for this tenant. And I could just see that with the amount of staff and everything, if this wants to take advantage of outside space, it's on an end, it's next to a big parking lot that's very underutilized. There is potential for that.
Absolutely. I think he sees a lot of value in that as well.
Okay. All right. Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
for your time.
We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Yeah, was it ever discussed that it would be a contained sign the way the Queensberry one is? You know how the art kind of goes around? I just want to know for my own.
So the one in the drawing is a single veneer sign.
Yeah,
It should be similar to the Queensbury, right?
the Queensberry one, right?
Yeah.
Where it just fits that
Yeah, we can make
rectangle.
sure, but I didn't see the Queensbury one. but-
It pretty much takes the art and makes it part of the facade sign the way we would do. Okay. I just wondered if that came
Yeah.
up.
We did not discuss it last time.
You did not.
Oh, yeah. No, oh, is that what's question? No, no.
No, the only previous one, for the record, the only previous Dave's Hot Chicken that we looked at, which were photos that we had, were from Western Ave.
Correct.
We've not looked at any other regional.
See, Jengus, the way it's contained.
Do you want me to submit the pictures I have from Queensbury for next time?
That's okay.
Not too much? Okay.
That's okay. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good night.
So it'll be something similar to that, but they'll just put it on the front facade. Yeah, it'll be,
Oh.
what they're proposing is the right, our code's correct size for the lettering and red of that sign, but the mural is not going to be that same.
Right. My question is the mural part. Was there ever a proposal where instead of putting the Spider-Man style stuff that's creeping all over the building to
No, we never-
contain it where that looks like
No, we never saw that. So you mean the
Brand.
mural being contained? No, we never
the
saw.
mural,
we never
mural
saw
being
it.
contained? That was not discussed. Okay.
Okay, moving on to discussion items. First one up is 412 Balltown. Oh, I'm sorry, I just finished that one. Next one up is 2727 Balltown Road, a sketch plan application for a two-lot subdivision. And Ms. Gold is the lead, and Mr. Paleski is here.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And you did submit a revised map, which is helpful.
Okay.
There are a couple of sticking points yet.
Okay.
One being that there's no easement indicated for a possible sidewalk.
Yeah, we discussed that last time. That's something that, as we get further along with the subdivision, it may have to be shown on the subdivision plat. We did mention that to the applicant and, we can work with the board on that.
And the planning department's not happy with the elevation of the proposed new building. 6 feet higher than the adjacent one isn't going to look well and might be a drainage issue as well. So is there a reason why it needs to be 6 feet higher?
Well, what we looked at was the grade of the road. That we want to make sure that there's positive drainage away from the driveway, from the house to the road itself for the front half. The existing house that's there to the north of us is an existing condition. It does sit lower than the road. If we were to propose a house today, I don't think you want to propose a house lower than the road. So we tried to keep the garage floor elevation at the bare minimum with positive pitch from the road. And then what we did was we utilized the existing topography on the site and created a walkout so that we didn't have to raise the house as high as, any higher than, to achieve the walkout basement. I don't think this is a drainage concern. All the water starts at Balltown Road and it runs across this site into the rear of the property. And there's natural wetland vegetation and drainage courses in the back area there where, the water goes there today and it'll continue to go there even after this home is built. So I don't see a drainage issue. I guess I understand your concern that, this proposed home is higher in elevation than an existing residence next door. But as long as we don't contribute any further stormwater runoff to that existing home, then, you know, we should be able to propose this, this home.
Yeah, okay. So I'm the one that brought this up because I get a lot of pushback from residents on the Meppen subdivision, a lot.
Which one?
The Meppen subdivision on Pierce Road, I can bring it up. So I think that house is only 4 to 5 feet higher than the existing house, and it's true the existing house I think is lower than the road on Pierce Road, but it looks terrible, and people criticize me as a planner, the planning board, on that subdivision all the time. And ever since then, we've tried really hard to try and make the elevation of the homes more consistent, because it makes these new houses just stand out like an unbelievable sore thumb.
But Laura, just to be clear on that one, right? We had approved that height, or that
We had
just came-
approved that height.
We had approved that height.
Yep, that is the problem with that. And this is what it looks like. There's a smaller house that's lower than the road, and then there's,
Yeah, it's
you know,
approved.
this, it's like 4 to 5 feet higher. And the same thing happens over on the other side. It's very, very contrasting when you're driving down that road.
Oh yeah, I do it every day, and it's called the Grew House, and it from the movie Despicable Me, which has the word despicable in it.
How close, out of curiosity, is there a greater distance, Mr. Palashi? Do you see the distance similar to the image that Laura just had up? Or are they much further apart?
I think the image that was brought up, like you're looking at a 2-story house versus a
Oh, yeah.
ranch, right? So I think that's deceiving.
But the distance, they're pretty close, but yeah, these are pretty close together too. Your project has them pretty close together too, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, I think, you know, it's hard to really understand when we're showing a rectangular footprint on our plot plan, right? We don't know what the real footprint of this. I think we talked about this on other subdivision projects before too. We're showing a very large footprint, I think, you know, and again, we tend to do that because when they come in and build a smaller or more narrow house, then the grading works better, right? We try to look at a worst case scenario, and that's what we're doing here. I don't know if I would like to put this house floor elevation lower than the road. I mean, I'm an engineer, and I would have an issue with that if that was my home.
Yeah, so Laura, just a procedural question, right? So right now the application in front of us is a subdivision, 2-lot subdivision.
Sketch plan.
Right. They don't specify the ground floor elevation now, right? That
He did add it on here because
did
we
add
were
it,
curious
yeah.
about it. So the existing house is 362, and the proposed one's 368.
okay, we had requested that.
Partly for, you know, sort
For
of
this
living and
discussion.
learning lessons.
Yeah, okay.
And I mean, I
Okay.
understand the engineering concerns, but also think that there is a real detriment to the neighborhood on that. There's got to be some kind of a balance.
What kind of detriment? I guess if it doesn't affect stormwater.
So it is rare for people to talk to me so much about one project that we have made. And if there's one project that people bring up to me regularly, it is those new homes on Pierce Road, because when you drive up and down that road, you notice them. They're different. They do not harmonize with the neighborhood. When we're doing subdivisions, this is not this is not, we're like jamming these houses in these lots that are left. And if they don't look like the homes that they're sitting next to, we're starting to erode the fabric of our neighborhoods. And Balltown Road is a neighborhood. So I just think, you know, like when we're looking at these things, we really have to be careful because we've lived and learned on some of them.
And I do appreciate that the intent is to build another home, not a professional office, because I frankly think the traffic, the way it is now on Balltown, wouldn't be really hospitable to the professional office.
There's also not enough space to put a professional
Yeah.
office there. It doesn't meet the code for a professional office.
However, the location of this is important given pre-existing because it's also going to be a big elevation difference from the renovated former animal hospital, right? I mean, you have something that's visually pretty strong not just a couple of small houses, so that contrast is going to be more apparent.
It's a large building. Yeah.
And it's lower than the house
Yeah.
that's existing, I
Right.
believe.
So
The elevation of the
The front
vet,
door,
you mean?
the
old vet
threshold or
house?
front door.
yeah, is
of
lower than
old-
the road.
The dog kennel.
Yeah, I
That's
think
probably
all,
lower than the house that's pre-existing on this subdivision.
I think it probably is too. Luigi could check that, but I think it probably is.
So if we wanted, so I'm looking at his topo map, right? So coming off of Alton Road, the topo is at 365. We'd like a number to be balanced, to be somewhere closer to 362, right? That's the,
It's the
Consensus.
existing house.
so what's the engineering procedure that gets you there, right? Excavation?
Yeah, I'd have to push the house back, right? So that I can at least get a
Mhm.
descending grade in the driveway and then come back up so that the drainage gets away from the home.
Mhm.
So again, harmonizing, you push the house back. I was trying to keep it in line with the other houses. So it's a give or take. I think that's something that, we can work through. We're at sketch plan. That's all we're asking for. We've got a 2-lot subdivision. We're not asking for any variances. I feel like, we get hung up at this concept sketch for a 2-lot subdivision that is allowed by right. It meets the zoning. It doesn't ask for any variances. We can certainly, get to the next stage, I would hope, and discuss these finer details.
If
And
you
maybe
push
by
that
then-
house- if you push
maybe
that
by
house
then
back
we'll
as
have-
drawn, if you push the house back as drawn, are you going to run into a variance on the side setback?
I don't know, but what I was going to try to say is maybe by then, when we get to like that preliminary final, maybe we'll have a footprint by then that you can really look at, Right now, it's conceptual. Like, I don't advise my clients to move full steam ahead on a conceptual level. Let's get past conceptual. It's a 2-lot subdivision, and then we can work out the details and maybe get a footprint,
And I will note, the lot as it stands is far from our ideal. The result of the subdivision would be one that's kind of similar to what we've got, but smaller. And then not a nice normal rectangle, but a trapezoid that is closer to what we would want. So I don't see any great harm in that. I think it's probably beneficial. And it does yield a buildable lot.
Yeah, and to your point, Mr. Khan, is if we do decide to push it back, then that footprint maybe would become like narrower. We would try to avoid any variances. We're not here to, try to squeeze it in like Laura said. Like, we're meeting the zoning. We got to fit or come up with a footprint that meets the setbacks,
I'm sorry, I have a question. Is the proposal to put 2 homes on this piece of property?
No, just
No.
one new home. There's an existing single-family residence
And that would stay.
that will stay, and we're looking to subdivide it and create it one new single-family residential lot.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we don't have to resolve the elevation tonight.
No.
Nope.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
so
Yeah, point
right?
taken.
It's gonna,
Yes.
it's gonna be a,
And it
And-
is specific to the lot, the land.
And I know there are techniques because I live in a raised ranch. So part of my house is lower than the road.
No, I mean, there's a lot of methods that we could look at here. We don't know what they are yet at this time. And I'll certainly bring this concern to the applicant and see if we can better define it before we get to a final decision that this board has to make.
what does inform the current footprint that you put there? Is it a desire the applicant has to have something that's that big?
No, we propose it.
You propose
ABD proposed just a simple rectangle that shows, what could potentially fit there, right? It's another thing too, like, when these subdivisions are created, you have a required front side setbacks. And, if the applicant wanted to put the house to the rear setback line, they have the right to do that, right?
Yeah.
But we try to propose something that like, just to kind of see what it would look
Yeah,
like
no, I agree.
and make the
That's what
grading
we-
work around it.
But
So
this will
that we
be a
pick that.
single-family home.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. But yeah, we pick that footprint just to, just as a placeholder.
And theoretically, a potential buyer is going to want enough driveway, but not too much.
Yeah.
Because you get into maintenance costs then. Plus, just keeping it clear in winter can be a real pain in the neck. I know.
But you said you tried to sort of max out the potential so that you have that flexibility with the tenant or with the buyer eventually, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you're trying to make sure you have it covered.
Right. And sometimes in this scenario, you see somebody may want a side load garage, right? Like, that's all customer driven, right?
Mhm.
Like I prefer a side load, but other people may want a front load. Everybody has their own preference, right? So we try to give them a look and that flexibility.
But I do think it's good we're considering and becoming aware of the GFE right now, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think that holds up a decision.
Right.
Sketch
Yeah.
subdivision, right?
And at
I
this
agree.
point, I would be happy going forward with the sketch plan, but we will need to do site approval later on.
Understood.
All right, so it looks like we're gonna have a tentative
Um,
resolution for next meeting
Yeah.
Okay.
for sketch
Yeah.
plan approval.
Yeah, just make it,
Okay.
just make it clear to the owner and.
Yes.
again, you gotta
Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
definitely carry this conversation.
Rotate it by
Could
almost 90
we-
degrees. Push it back a little more.
Could we get the sidewalk easement on for the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll discuss that with the applicant.
Okay, thank you. As somebody who has walked Balltown Road from Providence all the way to the end, sidewalk would be a great addition.
Okay.
All right.
Any other comments or concerns?
That's it. No,
All right.
we'll see you next meeting.
All right, thank you for your
Thank you.
Okay, next up on discussion items is 2565 Balltown Road, a Jewish Community Center, a site plan application for a new pavilion. And I will be recusing myself on this project and handing it over to Mr. Laflamme to chair this one.
Mr. Katz?
Yes.
Thank you. Have we seen this before? Okay, yeah, so we should do a quick overview. If you could just give us an overview of the project and the pavilion and.
Sure. So we have, I don't know if we have any pictures to show or just talk about it or.
I have the one picture
Yeah,
you put in.
Yeah, the rendering, it's.
Yeah, we added some other stuff, but it was after the packet deadline, so I think they have it for next time.
Okay.
So that's the idea of where the pavilion would go. There's a current pavilion, like kind of on the other side of, there's a access road here. And then the other side, there is an outdoor stage where the summer campers meet. And then on the other side of that is our new playground. And below that is an older pavilion, probably 30, 35 years old. It's worn down just from time. It's also in a location where a lot of the water is running towards it. So we're concerned about the stability of it long term. We've done some repair work to mend it for the last few years, but long term, we feel this is the best solution and a better placement for it.
So is this a replacement then? Or are you going to keep both?
I would say it's depending on the timing. For this summer, they may both stay up because I don't want to tear the other one down until this one is done. But long term, this other one will come down.
Okay.
And you just orient me again to where we are on your property.
So
If I'm coming in from the main Balltown entrance and coming down the
if you're
hill.
coming down the main Balltown Road entrance, you would go, our parking lot is a semicircle.
Yeah.
So you would come around that and you would go to the back of our building and you're seeing, yes, what she's doing with the mouse.
Got it. And then you're going
And
down.
it's
yeah.
going down beyond the level of the building because there's an access road that brings down. There's and it's like an access road also is for emergency access to the indoor pool, which is on the lower level of our building. So we did, I guess also the area it currently is we installed a splash pad a few years ago.
Right.
And when we did that, we tore out the old, we used to have a playground that was specifically for outdoor pool members. It was outdated. So we tore that down. But this is pavilion's going in its place. outside though of the pool complex. You won't need to go in the pool complex to get to where this is. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's for-
I thought that's where it
it's
was, but I
almost
just
the
want to make sure.
furthest distance from Balltown, and it's shielded by the
Yep.
structure of the JCC. You can't see any of this.
I
from
don't know
Balltown.
where you would possibly see it from. You wouldn't really see it from Hillcrest Village, for example, because all the trees in between. You wouldn't see it from, I can't think of the name of the place, but it's a place for people with brain injuries on Providence. And it's far enough back and low enough that you wouldn't really see it from the B'nai B'rith apartments.
Wouldn't see from B'nai B'rith.
Yeah, not much at all, yeah.
And it's built on a slab. There's no power.
Correct.
To the facility.
We have to install the slab, but it will be, yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is the existing one on a slab?
The existing one is not on a slab. The existing one has like it's wooden and it's built up. Like it's not on a flat level, so it's built up in the back and it's like on a wooden base. That's the other part of it. It's starting to warp from the water issue. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We have another pavilion somewhere else on the campus that's similar to this, but larger. It's a little different in the sense that it has an enclosed area. This doesn't, but it sits on a slab style.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah. What was the most recent application you had for?
We built a yurt last summer.
The yurt. Where does the yurt show up in the drawing?
Nowhere near this. Like
Nowhere
it's 500 feet away. I don't know how
Other
to.
side.
Okay.
It's on the it's way over
here.
there,
It's right there.
and we're on the other side of the campus.
I just want to make sure. Yeah.
Is the yurt up?
The yurt's up and it works great.
Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Got it.
This is similar to what we fairly recently approved for the church just up the road.
And is this rentable? How do you
Yeah, I
guys
mean,
work with that?
yes. I mean, I could see it occasionally being used for birthday parties. It's
Yeah.
not. Its main purpose is for summer camp, but
Yep.
I wouldn't surprise me if 5 to 7 groups rented a year
Yep.
for birthday parties, things like that.
Okay.
It's not the main use of it though.
It's well located, close to a road or a path.
Say it again.
It's well located,
Mhm.
intentionally well
Yes.
located by
Oh,
the
thank you.
road. Yeah.
So the
And
only-
Clark gave us, I was just going to tell you, Clark gave us a list of things you might want and pictures and diagrams and stuff. We missed the deadline, but I think it'll be there for next time.
Mhm.
With different views and other information about it.
You're not planning on putting well, I've seen canvas enclosures and I've seen plastic and I've seen glass. You're not planning any of that? Or is that down the road?
What do you
To
think?
put sides on it
Enclosure.
in case
Oh,
it
not at
was
this time.
bad? Huh?
Not at this time. No, there's no plans for that.
They really can make a difference.
I was going to put up a red awning, but then I heard.
Well, I mean,
That's not your
actually,
branding. That's
actually,
not your
we could-
branding.
We could have more of a conversation here. Yeah, there'll have to be something about, the impervious surface doesn't seem to be an issue here, right? For the slab.
Yeah.
And there seems to be, I'm looking at the Google map, there's no trees either, right, that are getting impacted.
There's no trees that'll need to come down as a result of this. There's trees around it that kind of shield it well
Yeah, right.
from other areas, but there's no trees that'll need to be cut down for this.
There was sort of a former structure there.
The playground is where it was.
Right,
The
yeah. it
playground
looks-
was taken down. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any reason why we couldn't do a resolution next time?
No, I would recommend it. It's tastefully done and it's in a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would see that too. I'm not sure. So what did Clark have on the list?
Different views, things that we
elevations.
typically look at when we're seeing accessory structures.
Some brochures, some building, like not just the building stuff, but some preliminary drawings.
It should be included.
It was a
Yeah.
handful of stuff
Retro.
though.
Yeah.
It
No,
should
we
be
can
I
included.
think we were like a day or two after the deadline though for this one. Yeah.
Okay, so I think, so it'll be a resolution next time, but you're gonna do that up, bring that stuff in.
He has it all already. We emailed it to him. He
Okay.
said, great, we have it. It's too late for this.
This is
That's how I knew it was too late for this. You didn't get it
No
yet.
problem.
So I think he said he would just hang on to it and just turn up the charm today, he said.
Okay.
He didn't have to say that.
And the rendering looks like it's a wood structure.
Say it again.
The rendering looks like it's all wood.
It's a
I
wooden
didn't s-
pavilion, correct.
All wood. Okay.
Yeah. It has wood shingles on the top too at the roof, yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool. Next meeting.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anything else for me? I'm good. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Laflamme. And that project can use a project lead, especially if it's going to go to resolution at the next meeting.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay. Project lead is Ms. Belofsky. All right, that wraps up discussion items. On to reports.
I have nothing to report except I'm trying to remember the dates or not. The town board did pass the original short-term rental code, basically as approved by you guys, except for the cap on the bedrooms, which was determined to be in conflict with the law. So good news. We have been creating forms and a mailing list to send out, and realize that we still do need to set the fees. So we're going to be setting the fees at the end of the month and hopefully wrapping up outreach to short-term rental owners by March 1st.
And this code applies to all residents.
Correct. Yeah,
Existing
actually, we're
use.
going to put a little note in one of our newsletters that just says sort of like own a short-term rental, like make sure you come in, register it if applicable. I have been going through all of the short-term rental websites that I can think of and making a list and trying to figure out the addresses for mail-outs. But if you know of any, feel free to send me and I'll check on the list. I think right now I have 5. Oops, that's all.
It might be good.
Including the one at the old
It
Kaposia
doesn't-
Winery.
Yes,
Yes.
yep, that one's on there. There is one in my neighborhood actually, which we have never gotten any. Yeah, there is. There's one on Middle Street, and then there's 2 that rent bedrooms in Old Niskayuna that I found. But I am going to also check a couple other sites. I got some ideas from a couple people who know of other places like Craigslist and places
Is
for
there
me
one
to
on
check.
Ruff-
So I'm
is there one on Ruffner?
No, that one we had gotten complaints about, but it did go to long-term rental.
Oh,
Yeah, so the that one is not. Oops, that one's not short-term rental.
I'm assuming Milton Keys is still operational.
It is. Yep, I did find that one. It is still available for rent, so that one is on the list.
Great.
I just had a comment. The training was excellent again, this year up in Saratoga. And one of the classes I sat in, we talked a lot about anticipating the change of housing challenges and densities and how PUDs have been a good tool. But one of the suggestions was, for municipalities to look at, and this is why I'm bringing it up, because I think our municipality would have a good fit. We have a great deal of larger square footage lots, R1s, and the use of accessory structures as a dwelling unit, right? And what some of the feedback they had provided was just kind of anticipating the requests, maybe defining what that might or might not look like. If one were to be considered, here's a model of what one would look like. And of course, the setbacks would be XYZ, which means you wouldn't be able to even consider it if it was less than 0.22 acres, but you could if it was 0.23, like that type of pre-thinking and discussions and things of that nature. And what was interesting was some of the changing population birth rates affecting school attendances and how some areas might see an adverse effect to attendance, but have the land and the availability for additional housing units that might allow for extended families with kids and things of that nature. So it just was an interesting dialogue, way ahead of perhaps our immediate need. But
Did they give an example of a place? Of a
a
location?
municipality?
Yeah.
They did. I can't remember what. Oh, well, Colorado. I mean, Denver was probably the lead example of that. And they had a real population problem. Like they couldn't find places to put people. So very different. But I just wanted to bring it up because I just saw our neighborhood and our community as being it's a negative connotation, but a target, for accessory structures and maybe great school district that may have a lot of land, a lot of extra space, a lot of setbacks, that type of thing. So just wanted to bring it up. It was kind of mind bending.
And the other, go ahead.
We do have language in the zoning ordinance about accessory dwelling units, it's pretty restrictive because the intent was largely to find a way for people to provide shelter for family members who had disabilities or whatever and needed it. But that at least could be a starting point.
Yeah.
I hope we are not looking at going as far as at least one municipality did, which was to require it.
Require the allowance of an
No,
accessory structure.
Not requiring that all such lots
Have them?
allow them and
Oh, man.
make them have them. Because that ordinance wound up in court, and as far as I know, it's still there.
Yeah, I don't think that would make sense. Yeah.
I don't think that's really what Niskayunans want.
They went so far as to say that if one were to be granted, it would also be expected to be removed. You know, so you'd have to have the ability to bring it in or bring it out, you know, or relocate it. It wasn't going to run with the land. It was just for
Yeah.
that particular
usage.
use or that family's use.
What we have is restricted to,
Principal structure.
yeah,
Principal structure, yeah.
and it has to be like a family member, if I recall. It's been a while since we wrote that.
And I would just say from that planning, Andrew, I don't know if you have a different view, but the big theme that emerged for me was just the lack. No one seems to have their arms around the wetlands change. And yeah, I'm sure that's not news to anyone.
That's
Right.
why I asked the question. Yeah, because there was a lot of discussion around it.
A lot of frustration about
frustration.
nobody really knowing or
That's
where
why
to
we're
go.
very lucky to have Clark and Andrew. Clark actually did a small presentation at the Economic Development Committee meeting on some of the points that he took away from, and he has some slides, so we could probably share those with
That'd be
some of you
great.
guys if you're interested. Yeah, it sounded like it was really good training. I'm glad that a lot of you guys were able to go.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed I couldn't attend.
And then just one more question quickly, because I know we're wrapping up. With a 200 unit PUD, just remind me one more time. They keep saying it's for starter families and retirees, but we know that it's also an opportunity for people with children to move into the district.
Yeah, yep. We hear that a lot when people come in, and comparisons to Rotterdam and other places are just not accurate. We just have a lot more children in our apartment complexes and in
Demand.
our condos than a lot of other places, just because the school district is consistently ranked among the top in New York State.
So is there any communication then? I think you explained this to me once, but just to explain to me how the communication works with the district. They just absorb whatever child enrolls.
Yeah, so they do. The district does have its own sort of comprehensive planning process, though. And I'd say every 2 to 4 years, maybe, a consultant reaches out to the town and we speculate. And I think they use conservative numbers in their planning. I actually think we have shared this because it's been in some way, shape, or form for many years now, actually, like at least 6 or 7 years. And so we make them aware of anything that is
coming.
that is a potential, and then they sort of encapsulate that in their planning.
I just found it very, I guess, contrary to the notion that it's more affordable than the single family homes, and to think that people with children won't want to move in there. I think it's very hard to believe. And just for the record, like with a lot of the populations of the surrounding districts have declined, Niskayuna has not. And it's gone up, I think, a little bit. So it just speaks to the fact that we are still, a district of desire. So to say that it's affordable for young professionals, well, those young professionals, some of them will have families. So I think it's something that needs to be considered.
Yeah, I've said this before. Lily has a bus stop at Rivers Ledge, and there are a number of children that get on the Rivers Ledge bus stop with her on her bus.
Did I mishear? I had heard, maybe falsely, that our enrollment, maybe the growth trend was declining, but that the number of matriculating students anticipated in Niskayuna is declining.
I think it may be maybe the rate, but
Maybe
the
the
actual
rate.
number has not declined. We're one of the only districts
It hasn't.
that
Okay.
has not.
Gotcha.
I think
Yeah.
We've got more homeschoolers than we used to have.
Yeah, so
Well, they're not counted in the district.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That
Yeah.
there might be more kids, than they're not all going to the school.
Yeah, so I didn't want to belabor it, but your thought triggers something that I think I wanted to send out to the board a long time ago. So we need to really look at climate-induced migration. And it turns out our area within the next 100 years becomes a sweet spot. It's not even 100 years, probably within the next 20 or 30 years. You know, we become the Sun Belt. No, I mean, so I'll send you folks a link. I just wanted to put my eyes back on it. I'll send it out to the board. And so that could be a reason for some anticipated. Will also be beachfront property.
Yes. So, no, I think it was.
Yeah, okay, you guys are. It's actually there.
Yeah, I don't know if we're at a point where we need to plan or write code, but I think we ought to be thinking about it. And I think 20 years is too far out. I think that we're already seeing people wanting to move back to the area because the climate impact elsewhere is so.
No, agreed, right? If they see a 20-year study and
No, I
then
know.
decide to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay, so that's just.
All right.
The exodus from the city.
Good point.
we saw it.
I meant to say that.
Okay. Any other commission business from any members?
I do have one. So
Good.
unfortunately for the next meeting, I need to be excused. Due to travel. So I can, you folks know my position on Dave's Hot Chicken. So you can have the vote and debate with whoever might want to step in as lead on that.
I can step in and take that one.
Okay.
All right.
We can coordinate for it.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. Thank you, Dave.
All right. No other commission business? Okay, get a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
Okay, motion by Ms. Blavsky, second by Ms. Gold. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And the meeting is adjourned at 8:28 PM. Thank you.
I don't have time to stop at the post office. I made me able to get my shower and shampoo before NCIS comes on.
Really not that bad.